We start letting people in. It's 9:01. All right. I'll start admitting them.
Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to our space. Welcome, Tony. Mona, I see you. Scott, lovely to see you again. Elizabeth, welcome to the space. Hi, Lizette. Really
Hello,
nice.
Lizette.
Hello.
A host of familiar faces and new ones as well. Please feel free to unmute and say hi to anyone that you know or put it in chat. Really lovely to be in the same space with people who joined us from the beginning of the journey, and a few others as well. As others get into the space, I just want to remind you that this is very much an open area for us to share with one another. So I ask you to bring that honest energy that is willing to listen and to also share what comes from you naturally. I'm going to be your co-host. I have with me Carol, and we have Benjamin as well, and we have Agnes who are going to introduce themselves later on. But just to set the mood and to ground us in the session, allow me to share my screen. A few of you have seen this a couple of times. It's always really nice to just remind ourselves of the energy behind the festival. We are coming to the end of the festival. It has been a beautiful 6-week journey. And the spirit behind it remains the same. We do believe that it is possible for us to be able to learn with one another and to share amongst one another while still enjoying the atmosphere that we create. And this is very much a chance for us to not only reimagine how change can happen, but to also build those wonderful and meaningful relationships that most of us really look forward to when entering any future space. The principles are the same that have guided us throughout. And as I've said, we listen to one another. We give each other the chance to listen to each other. We embrace the stories that come out of here, the good, the bad as well. And then we just try to bring in our authentic self as well. This is something that I will touch on towards the end of the session. What other ways you can be able to connect after this session, but this gives you a glimpse of all other threads that brought us together in the festival. And you can see the healing-centered leadership is one of them there. And as always, FITO does benefit a lot from any small or big contribution that comes its way. So if you ever feel called upon to contribute in any way, please feel free to do so in the ticket tailor page that the event was published on. So without much further ado, this one I will touch on it at the end of the session. I once again invite you to feel very much welcome to the space. It's really wonderful to have you here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and pass it on to Agnes to introduce the room and to take us from there. So welcome, Agnes.
Thank you so much, Beverly. Again, my name is Agnes Meneses. I am from Chicago and have been working with Carol and Benjamin on really trying to support people find coherence, and what does it really mean to get that, to gain that, to cultivate that, and weave our coherence individually and collectively together. Part of my background is I worked in philanthropy for many years, and I wish I knew what I know now back then when I was working in philanthropy around coherence. And with that, I'm gonna pass it on to Benjamin.
Hello, everyone. How's my audio coming through?
It's okay.
Is a little bit of background thing, but the reverberate.
Okay, well, right. Okay, well, hopefully we can just kind of deal with it. I'm Benjamin. I'm up in Canada. Coherence weaving is meaningful to me professionally as a coach and facilitator, and also in my personal life. I live in a house with, it's kind of like a community, intentional community living house. So we're doing community coherence weaving pretty much on the daily and living with one another. And I'll hand it over to Carol.
Thank you, Benjamin. I'm Carol Xu, based in San Francisco Bay Area in the US. And I've been a big geek of uh, it seems like my central question in my life is how might we organize people and resources for worthy purposes. And I've been in academia for that. I've been in consulting and also my own practice of organizing people and resources. Made a lot of mistakes, and that's why I'm here to to share. Um, yeah, that's me. And while there are more people trickling in, we'll get started. Yeah, we'd love to see your faces if you are able to. And then this whole workshop is very interactive. If you really don't want to be put in a breakout room or anything, please let us know. So I'll just walk you through quickly this whole track, healing-centered leadership. Uh, Lucette, who's here, who led the session last time, and then Lana, who started us off with why smart, caring leaders still create unhealthy group dynamics. She really kind of like walked us through this larger iceberg, underneath any kind of within any leaders. That is typically people don't see. We just see, oh, this person seems caring and this person seems nice, but then, we don't know how to explain the problematic group dynamics. And so she goes all the way to our intergenerational trauma, our parasympathetic systems, and all of like different kind of frameworks to help us understand we're so much bigger. The leaders are so much bigger than what they seem to be, and how do we help people? So then that's the first session. The second session, Lucette, who's here today, led to really look at the time dimension, like why everything feels urgent. And then instead of the typical reactive patterns, can we have a new approach to urgency? Can we have a new approach to crises? And Luzette actually guided us through, like, the specific tools through, real scenarios that each of us face. So now we're here in the third session of the track. In many ways, the framework from the first session, the tools in the second session, it can all be applied to weaving coherence at different scales. By different scales, I mean the individual, the team, the system, the ecosystem, all the way up and down. So I will share one slide because some people like looking at, visual. I'll, yeah, we judiciously use slides. Can you see the slide? Yeah, so before we go into, so today, as I said, it's gonna be a very experiential session. We don't want you to just know about coherence weaving in your head, as a theory. We want you to actually experience it. However, before we dive into the experience, I'll just tell you three essential features of this approach so that maybe there's a little bit of kind of like concepts you can hang on to while you're experiencing, uh, while you're experiencing it. So the first feature is systems thinking. Coherence weaving is about looking at the bigger system What are the differences in the system? What are similarities? What are the things that's very subtle? It doesn't feel like big difference or big, agreement, but it's really subtle and people feel hard to put a finger on it. And when those things don't align, it doesn't matter what pretty plan you craft together, people, things fall apart. So it's really like, how do we bridge the silos in the system? How do we look at the system together? So that's system thinking. The second one is relational practice. Coherence weaving is not just theoretical concepts. It's not just telling people, hey, you have to agree. Hey, this is too important for you not to move forward. Oftentimes we experience, leaders with great intentions. They try all kinds of things to get people to work together, but then the relational piece is lacking, and people don't have fundamental trust with each other, for example. Even if we know that we all have good intentions, but there's also capability gaps. Um, and then that led to less of a trust. So trust, resonance, coherence, all of these things are relational. And so fundamentally, coherence weaving is a relational practice, or it's a set of relational practices. The last one is fractal thinking. So the whole concept of fractal is actually, you can find it in nature. I'll just click on this link to Wikipedia. You can see this, right? Wikipedia page. Um, so fractal, people think it's a mathematical concept, but it really came from nature. So I'll scroll down to uh
There we go.
oh, okay. So it's
Yep.
working? Ah, I have no idea. I didn't touch anything. Um, Yeah, so the concept of fractal is similar patterns occurring within the system at all different levels, at all different scales. Similar pattern at the individual level is happening at the team level, is happening in the system, is happening in the ecosystem. So that's why later on mathematicians trying to capture fractal as a concept. It's the same equation happening at different levels. Now, so a very important part of the coherence weaving approach is really invite us to simultaneously look at the pattern within the individual, to look at the coherence or the lack of coherence within myself, to look at the lack of coherence in our team, to look at the coherence or lack thereof in our system. Oftentimes you will find very similar characteristics, very similar nature of incoherence. They are not that separate. And oftentimes, I think in system change, people are like, oh, yeah, sure, I can try to be a better human, but there's all of these other parts in the system that is stopping me, that is ruining my work. Um, and so people throw their hands in the air. But in the coherence weaving approach, we really don't shy away to look at all of the cohe you know the shadows, if you will, the light and the shadows in all the levels simultaneously. And today you will get to experience, get a little taste of that. Yeah, so any quick questions before I move on? All right. Then I will pass it to Agnes.
Thank you, Carol. So now we're coming into a time during our time together where we'll actually try and experience coherence weaving live. We'll look at the Zoom gathering as a fractal, as a part of the system made up of us as the individual actors in this small Zoom system. Our task in this exercise is that we're going to learn about the nature of incoherence in our Zoom call system, what feels misaligned, what feels off. So we really want to use this as the central inquiry for ourselves. And the way that we'll do that is that we'll think of a project, whether it's something that you've been working on or have worked on, and then just keep that project in mind. And we will reflect on the nature of incoherence about that project at 3 different levels: the individual, the team, and the organization. So we really want you to draw from your own experience and give you a chance to reflect on what is not making sense or what's not coming together, born out of that project. Again, either of current or something that you've worked on in the past. If you could add the prompt into the chat, Carol, that would be great. So first we'll do it at an individual level. So this is going to be a solo reflection. And it's going to go quickly, but if you could actually just have pen and paper on hand, we'll just give you a few seconds to just grab a piece of paper and a pen, and that way you can journal or jot down your quick reflections. And then the second will go into breakout, and then the third level that kind of mimics the broader organization or network will come into plenary. So this process of looking at the system is also a way to support us to see the system reveal itself. That's a way of sharing things that you see from your own vantage point that others might not necessarily see. So this is a simulation that we're trying to also do within this Zoom call. Yeah, so seeing the system is actually a crucial part of coherence weaving. Sometimes you don't see things in the system, and those blind spots are actually the things that causes certain things to not make sense. So the process of revealing a system to itself, the process of sharing vantage point, is actually a fundamental thing that's part of coherence weaving. So first we're gonna do define incoherence. I think what we would want to do before we go into some definition, we have a working definition, is actually to reflect on things that the sensations that you sense when you feel things do not jive. So we'll just offer a few prompts that could help you think or recollect things that might not have made sense. One example could be like, I have this particular role, yet I don't know what this role is all about. That's like an individual incoherence that's happening simultaneously on an individual level. Carol, did you wanted to pipe in?
Yeah, so because this session is experiential, we don't want to give you too much cognitive things to bias you, but I actually believe that we've all have experienced incoherence in our work so far, in our career. And I want you to actually lean into your intuition. Things that just feels not right. Things that like, oh, we seem to agree on the surface, but then when when the work unfolds, it's just like, what? Why do you think it that way? Why do you like it? Those are the things oftentimes we can feel it. Some people can feel it in their body before they can name it. Some people notice it, have different subtle signals. So I actually want you to actually think about that without trying to go from a definition. Does that make sense? And then we'll come to a definition at some point during the workshop.
Okay. So with that, we invite you all to do quick solo reflection, and I'll share 4 questions. The first one, is everybody ready? You have pen and paper on hand? All right. All right. So here's the first question. What incoherences do you see or sense within yourself?
It's in the context of that project that you are working on right now or you have worked on in the past.
Yeah. And we'll give you a minute for that. All right. The second question, what lacks coherence in your team? No, this is going quickly. Here's the third question. What lacks coherence at the organizational level? And then the fourth one, what sensations do you feel when you notice incoherence in the system at any of these levels? And sensations can be somatic, it could be psychological, it could be reactions, it could be any of those things, it could be subtle or quite blunt. So now that we've had a chance to reflect at the different scales, the individual, the team, and the organizational level, we're going to invite you to go into a small group, a small breakout of about 3 people, and just share what came up for you. What came up for you during your solo reflection? What is the nature of incoherence that you experience in your project? Again, that's the central inquiry. What is the nature of incoherence that you sense at those 3 levels? And just notice what's emerging between you and the others in the breakout room. So this is, I'll just add to the chat. So you have the prompts before you go to breakout. But before we send you to breakout, I just want to offer a few tips, so that while you're in breakout, you can also be mindful of certain practices of coherence weaving. And some of those tips are, and this is just a few, and I'll also add them to the chat. We have 4 that we've listed here, but there's, again, lots other things, but this is something that we just want you to notice when you're in the breakout room. One, when you're hearing differences and similarities between people, just notice that. Just be mindful of that or become aware of that. Just notice when you feel the urge to want to fix something that another person has said because they were hearing some incoherences in their own experiences, or to feel the need to advise, right? So we just want you to notice it and don't act on it. 3, when you are not sure what the other person is saying, try mirroring back. And mirroring back is simply sharing back what you think you heard back to the person. And then 4, kind of a little bit of an outer body experience. Try to see the broader context of what a person might be sharing. And one way to do that is to zoom out, as if you're kind of, your body remains, but you're kind of having an outer body experience because you're trying to witness the fuller landscape of what the person is sharing. So try those 4 practices while you're in breakout. Any questions about those practices or what we're going to be doing in breakout? It's really simply sharing and noticing. All right. Carol, are we ready to send folks to breakout? All right.
Yes.
We'll have, I don't know how many minutes do we have. Are you sending him?
11.
11.
11.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know
So
it's never enough time, but we'll have 11 minutes for now. All right. Everybody good? Thanks, Beverly. Right. 9:30. right. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Kobus? Kobus?
Hi there.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Sorry,
Hi.
I just got out of work and thought I would still join to see if I could still catch the tail end of it. So sorry for joining a bit late. Thank you so
No,
much.
no worries. Folks are in breakout right now, but they're about to come back. And then when they come back, we're gonna go into a plenary session.
Okay, sounds good. I'll wait until then. Thanks so much, Agnes.
Sure.
And how to pronounce your name correctly?
Carol, it's Cobus. Yeah,
Hopes.
but
Okay.
yeah, thanks so much for asking.
But just for your FYI, when they went into breakout, before they went into breakout, they got a chance to reflect on these 4 questions. And those 4 questions are what they're having a dialogue around in their breakout.
Yeah, so the context is that we ask people to bring to mind a project that they're working on right now or they have worked on, just in your regular work, and then to sense into incoherence in the context of that project, the incoherence within yourself, the incoherence, in your team level and your organizational level. So those are the questions that people are talking about right now.
Fantastic. What a great question. Hi. Let me just quickly
Hi.
say, show my face. I'm just working in a cafe, so I just needed to make sure I'm first set up. Great. Well, let me have a moment to reflect on that myself, and then
Sure.
I'd love
Yeah.
to join in the conversation.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. I noticed more video turned on. I love that. Please keep them on if you can. Just love to see your individual faces. Um, yes, so we are in we are in a pop-up system. All of the 20 people here. Consider us a pop-up system. And now, what we have just experienced is that we invite individuals to reflect at the individual level. What does incoherence mean to you, especially in the context of your work, a specific project? And what does that look like in your project at all the three different levels? And then what we did after the solo reflection is to go into breakout rooms. And the breakout rooms are uh, we're trying to simulate the team level. So you will start to see coherence or lack thereof start to emerge in your individual breakout rooms. And now, when we all come back into the plenary, we're trying to see the system that is our 20 people right now as a whole. Oh, I guess we don't include the note taker, the fetal note taker. So we have 19 people, 19 humans. In a way, the AI is probably trying to help us arrive coherence at a later point. Um, so now I'll play some kind of coherence weaving role as a facilitator and make some coherence weaving moves. However, this is just for you to experience it in this condensed workshop. But in real work, anybody could play the role of a coherence weaver, and to many people, it is actually very natural to how they are in the world. And so feel free if you have that inclination, feel free to also, play weave real time right now, in addition to me. All right. So now that we just came out of the breakout rooms, I would like to invite shares. What are you noticing? Um, what what feels resonate in your breakout room? And for the purpose of coherence weaving, we specifically want to invite differences. We want to invite confusions. We want to invite, I have no idea what this is about. All of those things are actually critical for the system to see itself. Oftentimes in our real work, we just try to advance, okay, the interest of my own department, like, oh, for us, this is very clear. Let's just go ahead. And then therefore we kind of ignore the people who are like, wait, it's not clear to me. But that is actually really, really important in weaving coherence. So I'd like to invite shares. You can just unmute and speak. Yeah, we have a small enough group. It's not going to be too chaotic. What's coming up for you in your breakout room? And the central inquiry is around the nature of incoherence. How does that feel to you? We really want to invite individual perspectives. You don't have to try to synthesize. We want diversity. We want different vantage points.
Carol, could I go? I just can't put my video on and I'm also on my cell phone, so I can't see everyone. So I don't know if I'm jumping the line.
Please, you can just unmute and speak. We don't have to.
Okay.
There's no line here.
Okay, great. A couple observations in my group that I noticed was, number one, the style of sharing was different. Two of us shared very similarly and went through the beat points of the question. And another person gave us a really great kind of like story. And it was just listening was as a different cue for me. I don't know if that's something that has to do with the system, but I just think it speaks to how people communicate and relate, and therefore how we can access knowledge in some ways sometimes. So I thought was interesting. And in terms of connectivity, one person I was easier able to identify in terms of the emotional responses. I thought there was some similarity. I like the words of tightness, fight, sharpness. It felt very similar to the words that I was using and how I felt with my project that I was describing in Incoherence. So I felt that there is great connectivity. And then for another person in the group, I was really struck by the fact that the emotional response to the situation was quite positive. It was like patience. Like, although they were able to see the incoherence around them or see where problems or challenges might happen to their own position within the organization, but they also had a lot of patience with it because they expected that pushback. So I think I'm speaking kind of vaguely, but that's what I just wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what I heard was first you mentioned different types of data that people are sharing. Some people are sharing sensational data. Some people are sharing anecdotes that's more describing the situation. So there's already differences in how people share. The second thing that I'm hearing is you found resonance with one of the person who shared, you feel similar sensations, when you sense incoherence. And the another person shared something, maybe it was a little surprising, like, oh, how can you be so patient? Right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so we're already getting very different data, different approaches people have. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
I can go. Um, so my partner and I spoke a bit about, well, we had two different experiences, although we've had some similar experiences, so we sort of shared similarities and differences. But, oh, maybe we weren't supposed to do that, but anyway, we had conversation. But I think, so on the one experience was around like incoherence when the mission doesn't align with the actions of individuals within the organization, or like responses, and sort of feeling that within the body and some frustration with that and sort of blockage. So that was one area. And I think another area was we talked a bit about coalitions and sometimes the incoherence that can come from mismatched expectations, because in a coalition, people are coming together for something, but they also have many other things going on in their individual organizations. So we talked about some of the incoherence that can come from that sort of mismatch.
Thank you, Mona. Yeah, I really love the words you use, feeling stuck, because a lot of the incoherence before it was named, people feel it at an energetic level. And it's really important not to, don't to just push, sweep it under the rug or suppress it.
I want to contribute with something that I wouldn't consider on the incoherence side. And actually, my report shall include that no incoherence in that group. It was beautiful, but my two partners, which I was very happy there because I really knew these two other persons, and it was a surprise to find the three of us there. And so what they shared was so profound and of such depth and amplitude that in a specific moment for me, it was like, this is too much. So if I tried to do something with it, it would get into the incoherent side because my incapacity to deal with all that knowledge in that moment. So I declare I can't mirror any of this because I need to take it in first. But everything was beautiful. And they gave me two jewels that I want to share with the group. One of them, it's the reflection about the incoherence between work and life, which they are the same, but the system tries to dichotomize it and make us believe that they're two different things. They're not. Thanks for that. And the other one about the incoherence at the unconscious level, how much, and that was beautiful, that the fractal going to the unconscious and coming back. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Roberto. Yeah. In our workshop, we're trying to give you a taste in a very condensed time fashion. But really, to actually sense into the system, we need to slow down. Like you were saying, it's like, whoa, it's only 11 minutes. It's too much. There's so much jams here. Or there's so much disagreement. We need to slow down. So either way, slowing down is really, really important in the coherence weaving for, approach.
I was also sensing that slowing down and noticing your own capacity to not go to places where you are unable to. And that is a form of healing as well, that being aware of that supports you in your own healing.
Yeah. And then the incoherence, Roberto, you shared about the incoherence between life and work. That is fundamental. That is existential to people, to individuals. We need to see that. We can't just try to turn us into a machine when we're at work. Yeah, thank you. Maybe I'll invite one last chair.
Hi, Cara, I'd love to share. Oh,
Chip, please.
so I think someone else was also speaking.
That's okay. Go ahead.
All right, Alisa, I just want to say hi, everybody. I'm Cobus. I've just joined, actually, so I've just come out of work, so I'm just coming in now. So thank you for welcoming. So I just wanted to reflect on this question. I'm sitting with two, I think, what feels like intentions. One is related to defining a set of guiding principles within an organization or a network, and then what happens when you see behaviors that are not in alignment with the core principles or the guiding principles that we've agreed upon. And sitting with that tension, it definitely sits in the body, where it's like, it's like kind of feels in the stomach area. It's kind of where I feel the sensations. So that's one. And then another one, I think, which is really interesting for networks is, especially, I work a lot in communities of practices, and where the kind of collective IP of the group, the insights, the shared insights, is owned by the group. But if it's under the structure of a business, then it feels sometimes it's got this incoherence of, what game are we in? Are we here to extract IP, or are we here to collectively own together? And how does the organizational structure come in alignment with the way that we are collectively, creating artifacts or frameworks or co-created open source things? So for me, there's this other organizational level tension that I'm feeling around the organizational structure and the way that we're working, and discovering where to go next, and how do we manage and govern that? So this is two I'm sitting at the moment. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Wow, they are huge. My heart is pounding because I know another software, open source software community, and many of such communities feel extracted by later on being turned into a business, like all of the incoherence. Thank you for naming that. And Alisa, even though I said only one last share, but I'll give you a pass. Go ahead.
Sure, I just was going to put it in the chat, but I just want to share a gem from the conversation with my partner, and something that they said was that this idea of an ambience of coherence, it kind of internally that needs to exist and to support and align with the outward ambience of coherence of your mission. And so if you have a mission that needs sort of a sense of high coherence, this idea of the ambience of coherence was something that was said that just got me intrigued and got me thinking.
Yeah, thank you. Ambience of coherence. Yeah, it's almost like these days some people use the word vibe. It's like they go check out a project or community. It's like, oh, the vibe is off. I don't want to go near that that group of people. So I'm interpreting what you're saying. It's kind of like a thing that people can sense and feel, but can't really put their finger on right away. But then when later on, when trust erode, then people are like, oh yeah, of course that's gonna fail. But that's only, by that time it's too late. So Yeah, ambience. Thank you for the contribution. Yeah, for the sake of time, I'm going to, so basically, we've experienced some kind of surfacing, right? Surfacing differences, surfacing similarities, surfacing inspirations. That's what we have done. And of course, in real life, when you're doing coherence work, this work can keep going, for a session, 2 sessions a month. It can keep going alongside with the mission or the project. But today, I'm going to end here, and then I'm going to invite Benjamin to come forward. This is also a very critical component in coherence weaving. We invited Benjamin as our scribe. As a scribe, it's not just about taking notes. It's really about helping the system see itself, helping the system see all of the threads without playing partial to them, without, like putting too much of Benjamin's bias, like, oh, I like this, therefore I'm only going to take note of this. But really, Benjamin's role here is to help us see ourselves as a system today of 19 people. So, Benjamin, go ahead.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to try to share screen here. Let me know, is that coming through?
It's coming. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, it was cool just kind of hanging out in the background and listening. It felt to me like when people started sharing, there actually was quite a bit that you guys were noticing, both from the case studies of your individual projects, but then also a few people reflecting live, noticing coherence related experiences actually in the breakout rooms. So this kind of reflecting back, it's connected to the mirroring that's already been brought up. And of course, I'm not omniscient or perfect. It's just what I've created here is one interpretation. And what's useful is just the continual feeding it back to the system, to the individuals in the system, so that they can receive the information through words, through pictures, through visuals, and then to see how that kind of continues the process. So I just took a few notes from the beginning. It sounds like healing-centered leadership is a theme you guys have been exploring over the course of the 3 sessions. And here today, coherence weaving across scales. There were a few essential features that Carol and Agnes mentioned up front: systems thinking, relational practice, and fractal patterns, all connected to this principle around helping the system to see itself through sharing perspectives. And they mentioned a few tips and tricks. Notice similarities and differences, notice your own desire to fix or change, try out mirroring, and try out zooming out. So then the inquiry that we have been looking at the past 30 minutes or so, what does incoherence look like or feel like for you? And everyone explored that a little bit on the individual level, the team level, and then the org and larger system level. And then just since the plenary, a few of the reflections that I heard from folks. In terms of sensations, people noted stuckness, tightness, feelings in the stomach, and then also a feeling of patience amidst conflict. Some of the reflections from your projects seem to orbit the team and organizational systems. So I'll just reflect on a few of those. Incoherence when the mission doesn't align with the actions of individuals. Some coalition mismatch when there are different expectations coming in. What do you do when you see behaviors that don't seem to align with the agreements that we made together? And then ongoing creative tensions with organizational structures. What game are we in? And what happens when there's a feeling of tension between collective ownership versus business IP? And then just a few of the other live coherence notes that I was tracking. Carol mentioned a few pieces in framing. We are a pop-up system here on this call. Differences are critical. And expect people to join mid-process. We literally had someone join us today mid-process while the other folks were in breakout rooms. And where and when do we need shared definitions up front? Yeah, that was you, Cobus. Yeah. A few other pieces. So coherence or incoherence. Sometimes you feel it before it's named. Someone said, in that group that I was in, no incoherence there. Someone noted a feeling of connection when they noticed that someone else was using language that felt similar to the language that was native to them. Someone mentioned an ambience of coherence that was a neat type. Someone mentioned noticing differences just in styles around communication and sharing. And then time requirements. Sometimes there's so much density of information or density of meaning, whether it's differences or similarities, that our systems need time. We need time to process that, to let it sit, so that we feel internally coherent such that we're ready to share again. And sometimes that requires permission to really slow down and to notice your own capacity. Okay, thanks, Carol. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Benjamin. Yeah, so that is a quick taste of coherence weaving in this very room of 19 people. And now I want to invite maybe 2 or 3 shares to just reflect on the process so far. Let's take a pause to reflect on the process so far. What do you notice in your body, in your mind, in your heart, in your soul? If I can bring that in as well. Yeah, feel free to unmute and speak. So now the
I can
invitation
go.
is, yeah, go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, in our group, when we were talking about the somatic sort of experience of incoherence, we were talking about that, I think what everybody said, a frustration, a pressure, a tension. And I'd also said that for me, it felt like everybody knows something that I don't know. And if I could just find it, this would make sense. Um, and I think that a lot of what we've been saying and just the demonstration of this process almost felt like the inverse of that. Like, I haven't said this before, but this makes sense to me. Really like showing the system itself really is something that I haven't thought about before. And it feels like, yeah, the inverse of everybody knows something I don't know. It's we collectively know this without saying it. It feels really like natural and comfortable in my body.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for naming that. Yeah, when I hear you say, oh, everybody knows something I don't know, I already feel like some tightness in myself because I can relate to that. It's like, oh, where's the memo? Everybody else got the memo except me. And oftentimes we work in that way without actually naming it. And everybody felt like they missed the memo. They're still trying to, on the surface, collaborate.
There's a sense of search that if it doesn't make sense, that the answer is out there. But the invitation to invite yourself to reflect on it, that slowing down also supports you to make sense, even though you feel like you need to search, but sometimes the answer could be within as well. And that your own coherence could make sense of what is not making sense outside, but that calmness that you gain for yourself supports you to actually see the landscape a little bit more fully.
Yeah. Any other shares, for example, on the quality of listening that you experienced? And you don't have to say good things. I want to re-emphasize, like how, reflect on what is problematic about this process so far you experienced. I think that can actually invite a lot more interesting things.
Yeah.
I have a
Yes, Brooke
comment.
and yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, I was just thinking something along those lines before you re-encouraged, but as somebody who often facilitates groups, I am feeling a side of the tension here where the slowing down and really active reflecting and re-reflecting and not taking on too much content at once has a lot of value for the coherence piece, but especially in networks where there's almost always a portion of the group that's like anti-process and wants to get to the action. And so I'm just noticing that, and I'm noticing even in myself, like, what would happen if we move faster? Would it create more incoherence, or might it create a different kind of coherence for a different portion of the whole? And that reflects something very real I work with in almost every group. So I'm curious to hear you all reflect on that piece.
I love it. Yeah. Somebody is giving cheering emojis, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you for lifting that up. It's something that we've also been paying attention to, that sometimes going faster can feel like people are on board, but there could also be this false sense of coherence because there was no infrastructure to support the actual coherence gaining in the process. But to go fast can feel like we're actually on board with everything, but underneath the iceberg, it still feels very disjointed.
yeah. One thing that I would do in those situations is to, again, going back to the basic, make the system see itself, make the people know, oh, there are a few of us who really want to move fast. And a few of us actually feel we're already too fast, right? To instead of being the facilitator, sensing, oh, so and so want me to go fast, and let me just do it. Instead of me doing that, because then when I do that, then nobody actually knows how fractioned this whole group is, right? So it's actually to make it seen, and then have those people have a conversation. One thing next to, to speed, some people get really, energy by speed is difference or drama, if you will. Like for the people to be aware, oh, actually we have big differences here, then they will automatically feel like they have to slow down. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lisette.
Thank you. Well, I have a curiosity. I don't have answers for this, but based on what I'm experiencing and what I'm hearing, it seems that there might be levels of coherence or dimensions of coherence, and almost kind of like depending on the reference system or the attractor you have around which things have been organized. For example, a facilitator or a leader. And I'm saying this because I'm thinking, and this connects to our conversation with in my breakout. I was bringing up the unconscious, and so many things that as individuals, as teams and organizations, we're not aware of, and sometimes we don't even know what our real motivators for things are. So yes, we are individually, but we don't know what we are not. We don't know about ourselves and about our system, and so I think that coherence can happen at, well, I don't know, my hypothesis based on this person, coherence may start happening around whatever patterns the reference person or the reference the reference that things are organizing around have. And it might vary between groups, and it might vary between even so it's never the same, basically, first. And second, we will never know, we will never reach the most coherence because that might not even exist given what we don't know and the mystery we live in. So I just wanted to bring that up, because when we are very certain about, oh, this is the system where we're bringing or like that we are changing or whatever, it's just so static, when everything really more than systems is a living response. Yeah. And another living response and another living response.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. How do we see the systems, the work we do as a living system and sense into what's here, trying to name the unspeakable early enough, and trying to also be open-minded to what I don't know? What are other differences in the system that I haven't been surfaced so far? And so that's also sometimes why our work feels like we're taking 3 steps ahead and 2 steps back, because, we were like, okay, we're all agree, let's do it. And then some unknown information start to surface. So coherence weaving is a capacity, is a very dynamic capacity. It's not something that you just follow the manuscript and then you just do and we're done. But it's almost like you learn to fall and then you learn to get up. You learn to fall and then you learn to get up. So with that, I think our conversation now is going into maybe now with this kind of like little experience, little simulation that we just had, how do you see we can apply these practices, these capacities to our, everyday work, to the things you deeply care about, whether it's in your workplace, whether it's in your family, whether it's in the society at large? How do you see that we might be able to apply this? And before going in there, I just want to give you a glimpse of this approach, the coherence weaving approach. Agnes and I didn't invent it out of thin air. It's based on the ground work with organizations and especially networks. And so I'll just, while you're thinking about how you might want to apply, I'll give you a glimpse of one specific case study where we applied it, and maybe that will help, jolt your creativity as well. Okay, so I'll share my screen real quick. So can you see the slide? The snowball? Yes, no? Yes, okay. Yeah, so this is, we worked with this network organization in the peace and security field. They are a network of 60 funders around the world that funds peace and security initiatives. Yeah, in the Middle East, in different parts of the globe. And so they reached out to us because they wanted to do a 5-year strategic plan to say, okay, what can we do at the network level of these peace and security funders? And so the time was 2025, and we helped them to go through a coherence weaving process to come up with their strategy. Typically, I think consultants will go talk to a bunch of people and then they will write a strategic plan. But oftentimes people don't feel ownership about that plan, and that plan just end up becoming an artifact that's sitting on the shelf. But this process is actually quite unconventional. So it started in February as a kickoff and then goes all the way to September. And then the snowball here really represents how we try to weave coherence. At a small level, it get bigger, it get bigger, it gets smaller, it get bigger. So it's not necessarily, but overall, the whole snowball is getting bigger and bigger. Throughout the months. So here I just want to say, like, there's a interesting design of the core working group. And the core working crew, CWC, consists of people who are volunteers in the whole peace and security ecosystem. Basically, the core team who works at that organization, PSFG, invited a bunch of people, like I think maybe 30 people to the strategic planning kickoff. And then from there, we asked people to volunteer to be in the CWC. And then we want to actually start weaving their perspectives because they are situated in different, at different vantage points in the larger system. And so this is a group of like 10, 11 people. And we focused on we formed CWC. We focused on weaving perspectives among CWC because it's a small enough scale that we can actually weave. You know, if the group is too big, it becomes too overwhelming. And then we go into May and June. It's about growing the coherence weaving ball to listen to the community. So we still have CWC sessions, but now we add community gatherings. And then the third thing that we add is deep dives within the core team. This is the team who is going to actually, you know, come up with a strategic plan for the network and going to execute the plan. And we notice there's a lot of incoherence within the core team, and therefore we added this move, the core team deep dives. And then coming to July and September, we help them to transition into like to have the core team to really co-create the strategic plan. The plan is not created by, you know, Agnes and I. We are there to actually help them. They did a lot of co-writing, and then the co-writing itself becomes a very important tool for coherence. And so then they came up with a plan that the staff really embraced. And then they felt so very energized to share the plan with the larger community and then keep getting feedback. So that is a case that we're, you know, that actually worked. But I'll stop here. It's not really about our case. It's really here. I want the remaining of the time to be about you, how you might want to apply this in your work. Or you might say, oh, this is not really working. It's not going to work. I welcome those concerns and objections as well.
Yeah, if I could kick off. The example I brought to the breakout group was a project I'm working on at the moment, where ostensibly I'm the lead at the moment of a group of community organisations who are looking at trying to acquire a piece of land to create a community hub. And what I'm finding interesting and challenging and deeply frustrating is the fact that we're very early stages. There's a number of organisations who have expressed an interest, but I'm really keen that we actually get together to actually just open the conversation, start creating relationship. And what I'm finding is actually some of these groups just aren't interested. They're doing their own thing. You know, they're used to being in charge of what they do. They know what they do, but they can't yet see themselves as being part of something bigger. So I mean, that's really. So I'm trying to create coherence, I suppose. I think that's what I'm trying to do. But it's actually the challenge of those who don't see the value in it.
Yeah, that becomes a fractions, differences. And is it possible to make that seen by those people rather than just jumping in there, you know, Tony, to solve it? Right? Oftentimes, I think a critical piece that is oftentimes missing is I have a story about the other people, and maybe I don't want to actually name it to them. And then I try to solve it right already. But then maybe my story is not actually aligned with their story in the first place. Yeah, but this is a great place. It's a great place to apply. Yes, thank you for sharing that. And it's very, very tricky. I'm not trying to you know, trivialize it. It's really tricky. The reason I'm smiling is because I'm like, wow, that's really juicy to work on.
Often they hold a different perspective, that different than maybe the ones who bought in. And what the curiosity could be is, what is that perspective that they're holding that we are not privy to, or a blind spot to us? So that setting a table that could invite that feels feels, some feels like a good approach as well. It's in order to gain that vantage point, and actually just coming to terms that they hold that different vantage point, and coming to terms with that actually already creates coherence for you. That being able to grasp that divergence of points of views is already a form of coherence building.
Yeah, and I think maybe also just hearing what you're saying there is that for a lot of these organisations, they've already been ploughing their furrow for some time. They're well established. They have their own network. They have their own people and governance and whatever. And what we're doing is trying to create something new.
Yeah.
With others who they haven't spoken to before, who perhaps have no reason to have a relationship with apart from the fact they're in the same town. So that's the kind of challenge. But I say I don't know what their point of view is until we get to speak to them. That's the problem. So I think maybe I need to throw a great party or something like that to get just to attract people in some way. I don't know.
Right. There are a lot of tricks that can, if you want to stay a little later, we can do more brainstorming. There are a lot of tricks that we can do, actually. But I also want to get to Scott and Kate. Yeah.
Hi, yeah, to add to Tony, so yeah, Nourishing Networks, what we do is we bring together all the service agencies, faith groups, government organizations, different sides of the political aisle, all together around a table in a room to decide what kind of problems they want to solve in their local communities. At first, when we first started this up back in 2011, we were inventing the system. It hadn't been done. We hadn't figured out how to do any of this. And the first response with a lot of the service agencies was, or are we all competing against each other? And I thought, wait a second, this is nonprofit world. I came from the profit world, and I was like, I thought nonprofits, you're all collaborating and doing all this stuff together. No, they weren't. And they're all competing against money. About the furrow that they plowed already, And then when they figured out that, oh, this is actually a safe place for us to collaborate, and that I bring something to the party, somebody else brings something else to the party that they didn't know about because everybody's in their silo working heavy on their mission, vision, values. But then when they see, oh yeah, somebody else is doing this and somebody else is doing that, pretty soon you have different faith organizations working together that historically aren't supposed to, correct, right? Or different sides of the political aisle. Even in today's stressed out world in the United States, people are binding together more strongly than ever before. So that kind of sense of shared trust, you kind of have to build that. We call it a gracious space. We say, let's bring this all into the group together. And you do that. And then after, it didn't take too long, people started to go, hey, this is actually pretty cool because it's not hierarchical and we get to actually meet like this. Cool.
Yeah. So in a way, it's build small tractions before you're trying to get those big guys to the table. Build some wins. And then the big guys are like, oh, wow, they're having fun. Let's go to the table. Thank you, Scott. Kate.
Thanks. Yeah, Tony Share actually brought up a question for me, which was, could you talk a little bit about coherence across difference as different from sort of assimilation? How do you carve out the space for people to hold differences still while still feeling coherent?
Yeah, so you're saying coherence weaving versus assimilation, meaning basically I'll turn you into me. Yeah. That is huge. There's a lot of habitual power patterns. It's around assimilation. Like, okay, I have more money, I have more, manpower. You're gonna do what I tell you to do. You're gonna, I'm gonna turn your culture into mine. And that is actually really, really, really dangerous. it can can create the false facade of coherence and even the sense of belonging, if you will. You can tell the world that, you know, people here all belong, we're a family, but the people don't feel that way. And then a lot of the trust erodes quietly until it's not quiet anymore. And so actually, Agnes and I have created a artifact that talks about coherence weaving and what does it look like when it's present? What does it look like when it's not present? We specifically added a caution in that artifact. Agnes, you can share the link now. In that artifact about this false sense of coherence, I think it's very much speaking to assimilation, Kate, that you're talking about. And then we talked about the price, the cost of that. It might make some leader feel good for a year, but the whole thing is gonna erode sooner or later.
Yeah.
So yeah, so feel free to take a look. That is our gift to you from this workshop. And in fact, we also have other artifacts we're creating right now. It's a tool set of different coherence weaving practices, you know, hacks, if you will, practices and hacks. So if you want, I'm gonna share a form. And then in that form, you can put in your contact info, and then we can reach out to you once we're done with that toolkit. So Agnes, please also. Oh, okay. I'll share the form, and then you can, yeah, you can speak.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. Time just always goes by really fast. I think there's so much around the practice of coherence, and part of it is also just noticing when things start to make sense for you when it never used to. And that is also, there's a bit of inner cultivation for that. So with that, before I turn it back to Beverly to close us out, we just want to invite you to add to the chat, like maybe one word or one short phrase that you are leaving with around this session, around coherence and coherence weaving as a practice. What made sense, what did not make sense, or yeah, just a short word or a short phrase that you're leaving with. We'll do this Chatterfall style. So go ahead and type whatever that word is. And then I'll give it maybe a countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then hit enter to share with everybody what you're leaving with. Thank you so much. And with that, I'll turn it over to Beverly to close us out.
Agnes, am I good to go now?
Yes. Yep, we can hear you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this wonderful third installment of our session. If you'd like to see the recording for the first and the second, feel free to reach out to me. Here is my email address. I just want to thank you so much, Carol, and Agnes and Benjamin, for what has turned out to be a very, very beautiful session for me. And I also wanted to leave each one of us with sort of like something that we could still participate in. These are a few spaces that Quito has opened in the next few months for us to be able to take on more of such conversations, something similar, something a bit similar. We have how to shift colonial patterns and center equity in networks. That's something that interests you. So we have 4 tiers of engagement, one in decolonization and equity, another one in how to cultivate cultures of play and joy and embodiment in our spaces. There's also one for around equitable evaluation and resourcing networks. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this link to this page in chat. I really enjoyed participating in this space with all of you. And just wish you the wonderful rest of the day. And once again, Carol, Agnes, Benjamin, thank you for having us. Thanks, everyone. Please unmute yourself and say bye before you go.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Great to be here with you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And